Praise be to Blessed Zunki, Disco Mew here with an update. Okay, so we've had the version 1.5's changed the game entirely. The Renegades play pack, look, it's the only thing I play with Lizardmen. It's just not fun without it. And the match play pack. Now, there might have been an update to Renegades soon. I'm still on 1.0 here, so keep that in mind. Now, I'm going to assume you're relatively familiar with these things, otherwise you wouldn't be watching it. But just a few things that might be a little bit subtle. Obviously, the Slan's much better at casting, but also you can now sit inside a unit. So there are a lot of spells that were useless for us now get benefit, as well as being Monfist infantry and being able to move around and stay alive a bit better. And things with shorter ranges are a little bit better. With the fact, yes, everything is harder to cast, but they're harder to dispel as well, which can work to the benefit of vortexes. I actually think they might be better in the long run because that extra point you need to actually dispel them is going to be a lot harder. And look, I think there's going to be a lot of people foregoing magic or having minimal magic and making do with obsidian lodestone. So overall, I think hexes are going to be worse off. Enchantments are probably going to end up being better than them. And of course, the match play pack, I think, conveyance spells when you're moving infantry around trying to claim objectives will be better. This is the tier system. If you're not familiar with it, it's worth maybe pausing and reading, but I'm not going to go over it too much. The Monsoon, Law of Lustria hasn't changed in my opinion. Monsoon helps protect things a little bit better because of Vortex, but it's still never that good to begin with. And Apotheosis has actually changed quite a bit, though I've gone from F to F. Lizardmen are infantry, sorry, the Slanner infantry, which now means it works on it. But the casting cost is 10 minimum, which means it's way harder. Not to mention there might be more infantry heroes and old bloods and things like that, or skink priests even. I don't know, 2 wounds, but getting around because it just seems to the 1.5. You'll see that, but I still think Apotheosis in general is not worth taking. Okay, so this is how I rated everything last time, and I will go over anything I think I got wrong. Yeah, Hammer Hands. So when I was talking about uh, assailment spells, you really had to build for them. If you had an ethereal slam, they didn't have magic weapons, and you were crashing into the flanks of infantry in casual games. Yeah, it could be okay, but I was kind of making assailment spells, not trying to sell you on them at all. What I will say too is I do primarily play casually. This should be a guide to help estimate your power level you're taking, which doesn't always need to be the highest possible. Some of my best games is when like my opponent and I deliberately try to aim for like a B or a C level of power. But the more you understand, the better the game is, and this is not designed for tournament play. Get you benefit from it, that's great. Okay, so in Battle Magic, Fireball, Oaken Shield, I think now S tier. Oaken Shield has had a massive buff. Because it's a self spell, you can still cast it when you're in combat, which means whilst you're engaged in combat in that Temple Guard unit, you can essentially give your entire Temple Guard a 5+ water save. And plus its casting cost is only 7. So yeah, it's a fantastic spell. And Fireball's as good as it always was. Maybe better now because infantry's better, and with no AP, that was probably the best thing it used to hit. Okay, Arcane Urgency I think's come up a little bit in use due to the matched play pack. Hammer Hands, yeah, it's down low. I mean, you're actually going to struggle to crush infantry blocks with a change because, of course, you can't disrupt them with your slam. But in any event, yeah, Salmon is what it is. The Pillar of Fire's had the biggest jump. It's really been triple nerfed. The spell's worse. It doesn't run through anything anymore. And the fact is, it was never that good a spell on its own to begin with. So, yeah, no good. That's where I see Battle Magic. Of course, that's a big loss too because Poison is the only thing we've used it on was Skinks, and they're terrible now. So this is how I saw elementalism. Plague of Rust is a controversial one. The world loves it. I never really was that convinced of it. Nevertheless, I still think it is A tier because infantry is now going to be so much more, run around a 3+ or 4+ save. So I think you're going to get a bit of benefit from it, despite the fact that it is an hex spell, and I warned you off then. It can be cast into combat. It has a 21-inch range, so I still think it's A tier. And Wind Blast is fantastic now. Being able to mess with the movement, particularly big blocks of infantry, I think is a good thing. The Elemental Spirit, I think I probably just rated that too high to begin with. Moving around randomly, and Vortex has all got a slight buff. Look, Travel Mystical Pathway was nerfed slightly in the wording, but of course it is a conveyance spell, so I'm leaving it in C. Look, people love Earthen Ramparts. I do not. Keep in mind, you're going to know base-to-base contact. You're going to be depriving yourself of one attack per model if you're a Saurus or in Temple Guard or in the fray. Jungle Swarms more than that. And Stormcall is absolute garbage in my opinion. Okay, so higher magic. This is how I had it last time. I think I really overrated Tempest. I had a couple of good games with it in a row, particularly disrupting cavalry and their charges, but it doesn't work that well against infantry. And you don't even really care in this edition if they're charging or receiving a charge. So I brought it down. Now, Fury of Cain, I think, is now one of the best spells in the game. You can cast it into combat, and you can always cast while you're in a unit of Temple Guard. So you might be given that frontline 3 attacks. Because the way the rules work too, when you're removing those initiative 1 things that are striking second, the the back rows sort of get taken away first. I've got a video on that if you need to see, but you're going to be getting a huge amount of bonus attacks from Fury of Cain. And you don't have to cast it on yourself either, although the range is 12. But it is always going to have a target available when those Temple Guard are locked in. So I love that spell now. Tempest I've brought down to B tier. Drain Magic, I nearly had that in A. I was actually thinking about putting it into A right before I hit play. And maybe I should have. It'll be interesting to see where this one goes. I think everyone's spoken about this a fair bit, so I won't harp on about it. But it could potentially be game breaking. And then come to very interesting things. Walk Between Worlds and Fiery Convocation. I mean, Walk Between Worlds is a self spell, so you can cast that on yourself when you're locked into combat, even though under the Renegade rules, even if you're in combat, you can still cast. And the unit you have joined will get Ethereal. So against most armies, not ones like Chaos Within Sorcerer Blaze, against most armies, you are giving your Temple Guard Ethereal, potentially while they're in combat and fighting. I mean, that is an amazing spell. I'll also point out a lot of these conveyances, like the Battle Magic one and Walk Between Worlds, allow you to move the full 8 inches with your Temple Guard, and your Slain can still cast. So that's just an advantage in and of itself. But this is potentially one of the best spells you can imagine. And the issue, and Fire Convocation, of course, is the #1 anti-infantry magic missile in the game. But the issue is the casting cost. In fact, that's high magic all over. At a 10 plus, I don't need to tell you, you're going to have to roll an 8. Now, obviously in Renegades, the Slan have that re-roll 1 dice per turn, but these are still look like 5 spells. Those are 5 fantastic spells to bring, and that is some serious rolling you're going to need to do. Like, you're casting at best on a 7 on anything, potentially an 8. So, that is high magic's Achilles heel. You look, Shield of Saphir, you might be surprised to see D, since it's so similar to a spell like Oaken Shield, but you can't cast it into combat. It vapes other. Look, maybe it's a C tier, but I think those 5 to me are the 5 best when you're running around with a Slan in a block of Temple Guard, unless you're going up against Chaos or something, in which case, Walk Between Worlds loses a lot of its luster. Okay, Illusion. My opinion of Illusion always was fantastic, very interesting lore, fantastic effects, decent casting costs, and the range is just way too short on every single spell. Now, Glittering Robe, funnily enough, is a massive boost for me in my eyes, because you can make essentially the whole unit of Temple Guard -1 to hit. But aside from that, look, it's the worst lore, I think, for us. And people getting really in love with a lot of these spells, but you can give someone stupidity, but the range is 9 inches. Like, what's good about that? I mean, again, for me, Illusion, it might be when you're not in a unit Temple Guard, when you're running around being monstrous infantry flying 8, you might be able to really play with the vision of big blocks of infantry a bit better, like run to their flanks so they can't charge you. And it'd be interesting. It'd be a challenge. Actually, it looks like a lot of fun, but I can't really recommend this lore very much. Necromantic is my favorite lore to play from a narrative point of view. I've played with it more than anything else. Pre 1.5, I had this theory of like lowering everyone's leadership and charging them with my big dinosaurs. But the truth is, if you back then, infantry was crap. So anything that might charge to terror, you probably didn't even want it to. Sorry, anything that might flee to terror, you probably didn't even want it to flee. You wanted it to connect. So what was the point of it? Okay, so in A tier, Unquiet Spirits is still one of the best spells in the game. Bit situational, but like Heavily Cavalry, it just wipes out. Now, Heavily Cavalry is not that good. I mean, I guess its number one thing is it can really vape armor. But when you've got, a decent block of, Temple Guard on the other side of the battlefield, or Chaos Warriors or whatever, they're getting around with an armor save of 3+. Um, Especially if they're the toughness 4 is difficult, but anything that's toughness 3, it'll wipe out. And yeah, it's a little short on 15, but I think it's still one of the better magic missiles. So Tethetical Bowl is an interesting one. Again, 6+ ward is great, but it is non-magical, so it's situational against armies. But giving fear is a very interesting thing to like a big block of Temple Guard. You can actually really start to actually do something with fear in this edition. That way. Okay, so look, Spiritual Vortex, a lot of fun and very difficult to dispel. How good is attacking leadership is going to depend if you're really built for it. Same thing goes with Spirit Leech. Maybe a good thing because sometimes you charge with that block of you charge a big block of infantry, and they're going to stick around because they're combat res, but maybe they're falling back in good order and so forth. Well, if you can really lower their infantry, lower their leadership, and get them to flee, yeah, it could be good. And Necromantic's just a lot of fun to play. Curse of the Years, that is fool's gold. It's so hard to cast with a range of 15. But again, maybe that's for something when you're outside of a Temple Guard unit floating around trying to stay unchargeable. Why didn't they do something to fix the Dwellers Below? It is the worst spell that's ever been written. Okay, so now we get to the end. What do I think? So this was how I rated everything last time. And I have changed my mind, obviously, quite a bit. So I do think with a Lore Familiar, Elementalism is the best. Its casting cost is so low, you're always going to be getting things off. High Magic. Okay, so High Magic, it's going to be obvious what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it. It is a build around lore. You put in a big block of Temple Guard, make that Temple Guard tough with maybe the hero or two, especially if they don't have magic weapons. You take a Stegodon with an arcane engine and put that right next to it, and suddenly High Magic is going to be the best thing since sliced bread. It is going to be absolutely fantastic if you can reliably cast those spells. But right now, I think Elementalism is better, despite the fact the spells aren't as good, just because you're going to actually be casting a lot more. So I'd be really interested to see in high. I actually think I'm probably going to play high the most by the looks of it. Look, Battle Magic is very good with the Lore Familiar because of those S tier spells. It's got a lot of crap and a lot of really good things. Yeah, the Necromantic Illusion here a little bit narrative driven, as well, I'll kindly say it. Without a Lore Familiar, which with the Renegades pack, you've got 5 spells, so I think most of the time we're gaming it. We're just going to chance it. So Elementalism, definitely the best. Again, in my opinion, there's a couple of really crap spells, but you're just reliably going to be able to cast things. High Magic is really not far off because, again, its signature spell, even if you don't get something, its signature spell, Drain Magic, is so good that whatever you roll on your dice, you're going to have, you're very likely going to have a good suite of spells to cast, despite the fact that they're going to be so high. Again, if you build around it, I think it's easily going to be sit above Elementalism. Same there. My only real difference here is I think without Lore Familiar, Necron Battle swap around because Battle's got so many absolute duds. Necromancer's got a bit more centralized, but I don't think either of those are going to be particularly good. That's me. My last thoughts is you should play the Odd World because it's just a fantastic game.